Agency industry was appealing because of its lack of appeal. People hate agencies, people hate working at agencies. And I'm like, okay, if you can solve this problem, then I think there's the whole world of different problems that you can solve that are much easier than this one. My father went through war and his brother and dad got shot and killed. I'm like, nothing you're going through is as bad as that. And for that to happen, it doesn't. I would rather have my problems than have his problems. I love to live in those times of emotions, whether it's dark or good times, to just soak that up and transfer energy into something more productive.
Welcome to Before We Get There, the podcast where we explore people's journeys, how they got to where they are, what keeps them pushing forward, and where they eventually want to get to. I'm your host, Nicholas Braman, and today I'm joined by Robert Lai. Rob is the founder of Kaliber Performance Marketing Agency and leads the APAC Marketers community. We talk about his journey working across 3 continents, the challenges building a high-growth startup, and the impact fatherhood has made on his outlook. This conversation contains great insights on building a strong culture, figuring out how to do things the right way for yourself, and much more. Enjoy the show. All right, Rob, thanks so much for joining. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, thanks for coming to our office to help host this.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be here, and let's talk about your company, Kaliber. I think it's a really interesting story. You came to Singapore 2020, very interesting timing. Mm-hmm. How did that come about, and how was the process?
Yeah, so it's always been an ambition of mine to start Kaliber. In fact, I wanted to start it in 2018, but the opportunity came for me to move to New York from Sydney. I moved to New York. The wife is Singaporean, so as a result, we sort of we're always going to make this our home. So I always intend to come here. And I guess that bug to sort of do your own thing is why I chose to start when I did, and it didn't matter to me that I didn't know anyone in Singapore or that COVID happened. I obviously didn't anticipate for COVID to happen. But yeah, it was just I guess an organic sort of occurrence. And since then, I've obviously invested into the ecosystem here, the marketing ecosystem, invested into getting to know the local market and surroundings a little bit more. And so far, it's been good. Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you say that you thought about starting it before, was there something holding you back? Was it just a timing issue? Were you waiting until you felt like you had enough, expertise or enough contacts? What was it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of all of the above, to be honest. I've had my stint of starting my own business when I was 21, 22 years old. And I was running events back then. And just taking some lessons from those learnings and just being a lifelong learner. I sort of always leaned into opportunities to learn first. And I guess the biggest insecurities I had before starting a business wasn't around my expertise.
And so was there like tipping point when you felt that, okay, I have an idea of what I want to do, or at least enough understanding of culture or was it just, let's just jump in and try it? Yeah.
I think I led with values first. So I knew what I didn't want to be, right? When it comes to that sort of my journey of lifelong learning, I guess, the agency industry was appealing because of its lack of appeal. People hate agencies, people hate working at agencies. And I'm like, okay, if you can solve this problem, then I think there's, the whole world of different problems that you can solve that are much easier than this one. So I dived into the hardest thing I could think of at the time, where I had the skill set, but then, okay, there's a lot of things that agencies have as a problem that I want to be able to sort of learn from. And the only way to do so, as I've done throughout my life, my career, is just to go, dive straight in. So, there's no point dwelling too much on, do we offer free lunches or grab rides to the office like Google would? Because I obviously had the privilege to work at Google twice. But I had to look beyond that and just, okay, there's only one way to find out. And that way is to actually, represent those values and stick to the mission. And, I have there were times where I also felt went a little bit astray. Early in our journey, we were offered to get it quiet and stuff like that, which sort of put a distraction, I'd say, brought about a bit of a distraction. Um, but yeah, obviously, then you remind yourself of why you started in the first place, and then sort of becomes clearer again. So, yeah.
And so I wanted to touch on that. You said you knew what you didn't want to do.
Mm.
I mean, I think probably everybody has some idea of what a bad company looks like if we've been unfortunate enough to go through that situation. Have there been any examples since then where you were able to pause and reflect and say, "Oh, I've done the right thing. I've done a good job of building this culture," and it's really a moment of pride when you see the way something worked out or how the business or the employees handled the situation?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's intrinsic a view of it. So how I've grown and developed as a leader. Obviously, starting out very very raw, but now 6 years in, almost 6 years in, I've been able to. I felt like I've also developed a lot in terms of key categories of patience, decision making, and stuff like that.
And obviously did very well there before you moved to New York and then to Singapore. What do you feel about the differences in the work environments, in the business culture? Did you have any trouble adjusting during any of those moves?
Um, my work experience in Australia is one that, if you were to take a look at my LinkedIn, looks chaotic. Because I think I changed like 6 companies in 6 years, which is quite uncommon for people. To me, years is just so long. Like, I feel like there's so much you can learn in 1 year that I just feel like it's a bit far fetched to stand still and stay in one place, to be honest. So I think that's one difference that I see here is people really like to reward tenure. And we've even had folks that, let's say, unhappy with working here, that they'll stay an extra 3-4 months to tick off 1 year. I'm like, you can just edit on LinkedIn. I'm going to check and follow up and send a letter to you. So I don't get the deal why you have to waste 3 months more being unhappy, changing. So I think when it comes to difference in working style and culture, I think in Australia, I hear a lot about Australians being quite laid back or lazy in ways. They're very strict on their 9 to 5. The work-life balance is quite important to them. Is an understatement of the year, but work-life balance is essential for them. But it's at every level. The director protects them, CEO protects them. Down to lowest level, everyone protects that 9 to 5. So, when it comes to the market here, I guess it's more the culture in the way you grow up as opposed to work culture per se. In Australia, they'll be very direct with you. If they're unhappy, they'll tell you they're unhappy. It's like, I don't like to work past these hours because I have to take my dog to grooming. They'll tell you to your face. Should you tell your boss this? I don't know. I don't think it's advised, but they'll tell you to your face of why they're happy, which at least allows you to be able to solve that problem, right? Whereas here, you got to be a bit more of a mind reader and sort of guess and whatnot. And I think that takes up a lot of mental capacity just having to think about that. So I think that's been the biggest adjustment. Obviously, in the US, you got a bit of a culture that's similar to Australia. In New York, in particular, I guess I had to deal with a bit more of a woke culture there. So, woke, not work.
No, well, okay.
So that one was sort of caught me off guard because in Australia we have quite loose lips and say whatever we want. So I had to make some adjustments when I moved to the US.
So have you had to make adjustments to the way you manage people or being the leader at your company, or even like you were talking about culture earlier, to try to instill some of that team spirit and working together here?
For sure. And I've had to change a lot because I'm quite direct, also not the best at changing. So I have to change my ability to change. But the general thing that I think for me, as much as I've needed change, I've also expected things to be. I'm always in a world of it being fair. So at the same time, I also have the expectation for people to adjust, as opposed to I just do everything for you. I think we need to meet halfway if we're going to do things as a team. So I think on one side, I think we've done a lot within our company to try to mold around the culture and talent that we're going to be, picking up and acquiring and adding to the team, because I think it's important. But at the same time, we're also, reducing the barriers for those people to make adjustments. So people that are a bit more uncomfortable about being direct, or at least I think through the interview process, we're able to help. And I think that's so where we need to make adjustments. It's just, okay, if we are too tight on identifying our people, then, we're not being realistic to being able to work and survive and be in this market. But at the same time, we can't work with everyone. And that's not the model type of business that we want to run that will allow us to convey our values and our mission.
Have you ever had to fire a client before?
Yeah, I fired more clients than I have employees. Yeah. Openly. I'll proudly put that on my website if I have to as well. Yeah.
Was that difficult, like the first time you did it?
Yes and no. Yes, because when you're first starting out, every dollar matters. But no, from the perspective of it just wasn't a fit, and it was driving my team nuts, and it could be it's a lose-win-win situation. Lose, obviously revenue, right? But you gain back time, and you get to make a statement, right? And use these examples to say, team matters more, I'm firing client, right? And those, I think, are great momentum builders when you're looking to start a team or send a message. So, use that as a way to send a message. This is how much this client's worth to us, and I got rid of him, despite we've got to work things out together as a team to be able to fill that gap. And those are very early days. Now I can fire clients whenever, but I don't want to fire all my clients. I just want to be clear. I want to fire the ones that aren't the best fit. I guess we don't need to fire as much now because we also go for that same screening process of just identifying that fit earlier. But during the time where we're growing and we didn't have as much of a process, it's quite easy decisions to make, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's very unusual. I started off pretty early in my career at an agency. There were certainly situations that I saw where it wasn't a good fit, but not all leadership is able to do that and actually take action to move on from a client like that. Right. So let's talk about that a bit more. You've talked before about how you didn't necessarily do a lot of speaking previously in your career, and it's something you've started over the last few years. And you even had an instance where you were disappointed in yourself in the way that you presented on stage in the talk that you gave. How have you developed that skill? Because now you give tons of talks all over. How have you developed the skill? What was it like after you got on stage for the first time and weren't happy with what you delivered?
So there was a piece that I did on behalf of a friend for HubSpot. So it was a talk on the state of hiring, I think it was. It's the state of marketing for HubSpot LinkedIn. It's quite a big deal. Kaliber, HubSpot, LinkedIn. So a lot of pressure to deliver. But around that same time, I also had my wedding to prepare for. So that, if anyone's been married or gotten married, the prep it takes to prepare for me, it was a destination wedding for my friends and family because they were coming to Singapore. And there was 90 of them to prepare for. So I was stressed as hell and I had no mental capacity. And then, not that I'm not trying to make excuses here, but LinkedIn and HubSpot at the same time had quite a lot of details to memorize. And it was my first time being a moderator or host. I completely caved on the day and my body language just shriveled up and whatnot and just completely out of my zone. And there's so many things for me to memorize. I completely botched the job. So to this day, I feel terrible. But with that, with those emotions, with those feelings, okay, I can sit there and feel terrible about it and sulk and cry if I really want to, or I can transfer that energy, whether it's good energy, bad energy, into something more productive. So that's sort of where it sort of stems from, is like, I love to live in those times of emotions, whether it's dark or good times, to just soak that up and transfer energy into something more productive. And from there, every time I do a talk, well, I made it clear what I can't do, right? I don't think I'm the best moderator, so let me not do moderation stuff. I don't think it's best of my time to sit on a panel and share 20 minutes with 4 other people, right? And ask very, very set questions. So I don't do panel discussions anymore. I've tried my hand at that and never felt like I enjoyed that. So when you identify what you are more clearly aligned to, I think it makes it easier to do a good job, right? To be more in your comfort zone or more in your zone. So when it comes to giving talks on topics I care about, or if they give me the freedom of the topic, then I'll go nuts. I'll go, I'll wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't even need to prepare because I know exactly what I want to say. And that's exactly where I want to be. I want to be in that zone where I'm just focused on adding value to every single person in the room, right? And just being objective focused. So what I found is with everything, if you have an objective in mind, you're trying to work towards it, same with business, same with whatever it is, it makes it very, very easy when it comes to what you need to do. So when it comes to running a marketing community, whatever, it's not easy to do, but it becomes easier to know what needs to be done when you have an objective of how you want people to feel when they leave the room, what energy you want to bring. So that becomes a lot clearer. So I think my only secret is there's no secret. And if you have an objective, I don't think you can do a bad job, right? Because you will think through every possible thing. You'll go and ask people that are experts in it. Like there's a whole plethora of different things if you care enough about, the objective. So, or the mission. So for me, if I'm able to find a place where I'm able to apply passion to the equation, then it's pretty hard to fail.
So first I want to go back when you said you soak up the energy, whether it's positive or negative, and then you're able to transfer it into action. I think that's not something everybody could do. A lot of us will get stuck in a loop just replaying this moment in our heads. Were you always good at that? Is it something you learned along the way?
It's something I certainly learned along the way. I didn't pick that up myself. But I guess in ways I've been quite blessed that my parents didn't have the most easiest path in their life because they made my life and my sister's life easier, but I can see all the struggles they went through. So when, not to sound like like in ways when I think of me sitting there and, feeling sorry for myself, at the same time, like, okay, Rob, stop being a little bitch, right? Because, you never went through, my father went through war and his brother and dad got shot and killed. I'm like, nothing you're going through is as bad as that. And for that to happen, it doesn't, I would rather have my problems than have his problems, right? And that to me just sort of able to help me reframe a little bit, take a step back. Because I think it's important. You need to take a step back. You need to relook at the situation and get over yourself real quickly, right? Not to say that you should be insensitive towards emotions. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm more saying like, try to reframe and rethink more productively of how you can leverage and use how you feel as opposed to just keeping yourself in that loop like you mentioned. So I think that's the thing that sort of just yesterday, we had an important basketball game to play in a competition, and I've been limping on my right foot. But I've mentally told myself that, okay, if I can somehow get on the course, I spent the last 4 days icing my foot and just rehabbing as much as I can to be able to be 80% healthy. But we got on the court and we won last night. But I think it's just the way that you've reframed things in your head. If you have an objective in mind, it becomes a lot clearer what steps you need to take and how to then achieve them, right? So I think in the same manner, all right, Rob, you don't like to do these talking things and whatnot because you're uncomfortable. Let's break that down as to why, because you still need to do it. If you want to see out your mission, you don't want to be a hypocrite, you still need to do these type of things. So you got to figure this out. There's no way you can escape it, right? So then, okay, I have to figure it out. There's no choice. And then, and if I can try to gather up that energy, try to settle myself and settle my thoughts, because your thoughts will pass. It's not something that's going to stay around forever. So your thoughts will pass, you'll settle down, you'll find yourself in a place where you can be a lot more objective thinking, And from there, how do you take the next action steps to be able to get close towards your goal? The quicker you're able to get through that process, I don't want to use the right language because I don't think anyone should get over their emotions or just move on. I think people should go through that process of just going through that. But if you can accelerate that and get close towards a place where you can take actions, then I think you'll be able to see a lot more success in your life in whichever way you see success. Because, I've seen people that have raised a lot of money and whatnot. We started around the same time. They raised 100 million in 3 years. I'm like, I'm not even, I've just passed 1 million, let alone 100 million, right? But with that said, I feel like I've learned $100 million worth of lessons. So it all depends on how you frame things. It all depends on how you look at things and look at your own journey.
Yeah, that's an interesting balance also. For me, I relate things back to jiu-jitsu. That's my main
nice.
sport. Yeah, I've been doing BJJ for 7, almost 8 years. And I think one of the big lessons that I've learned from jiu-jitsu is that it's good to do hard things.
Yeah.
Like, if it was too easy, then it wouldn't usually be worth doing. And so it's not bad that it's a hard thing, but then I think there's the balance of, do you lean into the things that you have a natural talent at or aptitude for, or do you push through it? Or, when you give up, okay, this is not for me. Like you mentioned, being on panels is not your thing, or being a moderator is not your thing, but you're really good when you are just talking directly to the audience and you know exactly what you're delivering to them. So the balance there, sometimes it's difficult to know, am I just not trying hard enough? Should I keep pushing, or am I wasting my time when I should pivot a little bit and figure out what I am good at?
Well, I think it goes back to what you just what we just discussed earlier around also finding people, right? Because the people that you're speaking to may not be the people that you really want to be speaking to, or the ones that need to hear you, right? If I'm in a room talking about AI and whatnot, and I'm in a room full of CMOs that are of Fortune 500 companies, they don't really care. They've got people doing their jobs for them. So is that my audience, right? Am I going to get kicked out of it? And do I feel like I'm achieving? So sure, I'm standing in front of a room full of great logos, but this doesn't really add value to me as an individual, right? Not maybe from a monetary standpoint it could, but from a impact standpoint, maybe I don't feel that way. So similarly, why do you choose other disciplines? Why do you choose jiu-jitsu to focus on, right? So you need to find what that is. I think you need to find what that is for yourself to be a bit more aligned. And when you're a bit more aligned, then it becomes a bit more clearer what steps you need to take. So I'll give you an example because I went through, I think a great case study of where I've applied this level of thinking is, if you're a business owner, I can't see how you can get around running a business without networking. I just can't see how you can start a business and not network and still continue to grow the business, right? You need to network to be able to identify places where you can hire, places where you can create partnerships, and be able to find ways to obviously get customers, right? So there's no way you can do this without networking. So I went networking, and what most people define as networking is going around, going to these events, shaking hands with people, walking into, a table full of people already having conversation and being able to find your way to just bump yourself in and introduce yourself. Completely out of my norm. And I never got better at it. And, I could practice jiu-jitsu all I want. I wouldn't get to a black belt level because it's not my thing, right? So in the same way, networking is just never my thing. But what's the objective of networking? The objective of networking is to be able to meet, grow, expand, and get to know people that you can potentially work with, right? Or hopefully just somewhere down the line also make some friends as well. And as someone that is coming as a complete foreigner into Singapore, I knew no one at all, and now have a conversation with yourself, right? In the span of 5-6 years, I think I've been able to do a decent job. But I didn't do it with networking as the traditional sense. So I reframed it. And the way I reframed it was, well, I'm not good at networking, but I'm really, really good at hosting. I love hosting people. I love people being able to enjoy great food, great wine, great drinks. And I'm not for the type like, I can't do cheap beer or cheap wine. For me, it has to be good. It has to be good value. It doesn't need to be the best. It doesn't need to be expensive, but good value, right? I like nice experiences. So that's where I lean into. something I'm more comfortable with, something I'm in ways expert at or passionate about, in which I knew I could do a great job and I knew people would have a great time. You know what the best thing about hosting is? Everyone has to talk to you. Everyone's coming to your home. You're the host. So I don't have to go around shaking anyone's hand, right? And if I do, it's because you're in my home and I want to make sure you're having a good time. So once again, changing and flipping the objective, the results are still the same. In fact, it's better as a host than it is as someone that goes to these networking events, just going around shaking the room and leaving business card, and then people forgetting you the next day, right? As a host, people remember they had a great time, had a great experience, and learned something at one of my events, or they picked something up and they were forever grateful for that. Or from my events, they met someone that they became really good friends with and they're forever grateful because I'm always a part of that connection. So that to me is just, it's duh, like this is where you lean into, right? So as a result, through hosting instead of networking, I was able to grow and expand my network of friends and people within this industry far quicker than I could have imagined, to be honest. But to me, it was just something that's quite obvious to do. So, and no one else was really doing it or doing it well. They always had some commercial intent. So once again, I think that, and it's not to say I didn't have commercial benefit. I've had plenty of commercial benefit, but I did it in the right way, right? I made sure people had a good time. And I didn't care about the rest. And as a result, they referred me, they hired me, they did whatever it is to, Rob's my people. So let me find ways to either give Rob work or look after Rob in ways that he's also reciprocated to me. So I think there is a world where we can, gain things commercially, but do it by doing it without being so commercial.
Yeah, that's a fantastic example. I mean, that's how we met. But I've also said this, I feel the same way. I hate those networking events where you go in and you don't know anybody, you get your little wine or your beer and you have to insert yourself into other people's conversations and hand out your business card. And I've actually been talking to a few friends about something similar. For me, it's you found the perfect answer. For you, for me, it's been other types of projects where I meet people and we collaborate together. I've been doing TEDx Singapore work for the past couple of years. After starting the podcast, I'm meeting and developing deeper relationships with all different people. So I think for people who are not comfortable with networking, there's ways. Yeah, there's ways around it.
Yeah, there's ways around it. And I've also had my hand at volunteering, and I actually love to be able to hear your thoughts as well because, through APAC Marketers, and I didn't realize, but a lot of people do want to volunteer, but they don't know how to access volunteering. I didn't realize it's a problem for me. It's just, okay, let me just knock on someone's door. I guess my brain works differently. I'm like, okay, I want to help you, so I'll just knock on your door and ask if you want help, right? But I guess for a lot of people, they can't even get past that first barrier. So I want to be able to help open those doors for them as well, because I think it's a nice way to give back, but also meet other folks that are your people. Yeah.
And so going back to that, did you try those kind of traditional networking events for a while before you had this revelation?
Yeah. Long time until I was like, you know what, Rob, what are you doing going to these things? You only met the same person you already know. Like when I go to these networking events, I'm just talking to people that I already know. So it's not until they introduce me to someone else, I'm like, okay, I'm spending 2-3 hours here. And then when, my wife and I just, came to the conclusion that we're going to, try for a kid and start a family, I'm like, okay, I really want to have time for this crap anymore. Like, what am I doing? So it became a lot more clearer. I guess when you have a kid, time becomes so precious, and you've got to be quite decisive in where you spend it. Just became a lot more clear of where I should spend my time and where I shouldn't. So cut off all networking. I'll go to events to support folks that I know that are putting something together, but I'm not going to go to these other events. Sorry, Google, Meta. I'm not going to go to that sort of stuff anymore. No value. I'll go there as a speaker, but I'm not going to go there as if I'm going as a speaker, not to do panel discussions either. I'm very, very clear of where I can plug myself in.
Well, I think it's a really important perspective shift, and I'm sure we all have gaps in our own thinking about different areas where, sometimes we're able to make that shift and other times we're not. But I think a lot of people, if they're having trouble at networking events, they might go, oh, well, I better learn how to go watch a video on how to make small talk more easily.
Yeah.
Or I should go and read some books so I have something to talk about with new people. But completely shifting the paradigm and finding a new angle to approach it through, starting your own community and being a host is a great example of not getting incrementally better at something, but actually shifting the whole thing. I did want to ask you about building APAC Marketers. How have you felt the difference in building community versus your agency?
Great question. I wish I could find more ways to spend more time doing the community piece. Not to say I don't care about my team and business and the clients, though. It's obviously my day job and I care about that a lot. But the community piece is rewarding on a different level, I feel. And just being able to give back, being able to see all the passionate people that want to get involved as well is just, I wish there could be a way that it could be more feasible for me to bring everyone on board, full time doing this thing and whatnot. Because it's just, I just get so much more joy out of it than just doing the day to day. But I think it goes hand in hand. You need both to be able to sustain. So I'm glad there's a level of balance. But yeah, those are some things that the key difference obviously is, through community, you're able to help people forge connections, help them solve problems, help them find jobs, help them do all those things. Just, it makes such a big difference. You can see the direct difference that you're making in someone's life as opposed to, running some ads to generate some revenue. Obviously, this helps, indirectly put people in jobs and it helps customers find solutions and whatnot. But I guess it brings that layer of impact closer when you can directly help someone, find a connection or find a job or learn something new. So I think if I'm to put a pulse or bet on it, that's certainly my calling for the next 20 years is more down the path of community than it may be running a business. But yeah, I think I'll be able to find and strike a balance between the two, because I think in the same way, they are closely aligned, because I think my team will benefit greatly being able to network with all the marketers that APAC Marketers do. And, we're hiring marketers as opposed to just people that buy media per se or just do very sort of commercial execution based stuff. So I think there will be a nice way where I'm able to intertwine the two without being without it coming off ingenuous or whatever it is. So I think organically, and not just for myself, also for other marketers, agencies, consultancies, I think there can't be a way where we can't all coexist. So I think APAC Marketers, to me, I'd love to be able to make it a mission of mine to see how we can get everyone's involvement and just, a lot of communities out there like to exclude agency folk or exclude, certain folks because.
All right. So you mentioned another big news. I'm a young father myself. You mentioned how having a kid has changed some of your priorities and how you spend your time. And I'm interested in what else, if there's been any other shifts in how you think and how you approach life and business since you became a father.
Having a kid, I think, is the best thing that anyone can do. And in ways, I wish I had a kid sooner. How it's changed, I think it's such a hack to, applying to business, because you really waste your time saying yes to a lot of stuff. And that everything you say yes to now comes at a sacrifice of time that you spend with your child, which frankly, I would never look to replace. So I think, it's quite easy to say no to a lot of things now. Life's become very, very black and white when it comes to business, and all the values and everything that I share around the mission and whatnot becomes a lot clearer of what you do or don't do, and where you want to spend your time. So I still get a kick out of obviously trying to solve problems that people haven't solved before and do stuff like that. But if it comes like I said, if it's a panel discussion or whatever it is, or some project that I know I, wouldn't get a kick out of doing, just say no. They can tell me how much, they'll also say no. So there's less, the whole thing around, balancing commercial and whatnot and impact, becomes very clear of, unless this level of commercial is going to unlock something for me to spend more time with my kid, then the answer is no. So, if you're paying me $1 million for a project that I got to do in a month, okay, fine. I can see how that will translate to me not having to work for the rest of the year if I had to do that, right? So then, okay, I'll do it. I'll sacrifice a month. But if it's any less than that, then maybe I won't. So not anything slightly less is okay for the camera. But in general, I think just the whole main thing is everything's become very, very black and white. So quite easy to make decisions, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it makes it more acute because of how quickly they change. And you can see that you're never going to get that time back. When it's your own self, you don't feel the time. Like, we're getting older, yes, we know theoretically we don't get time back and there's a finite amount, but it's so much easier to see it when they start at zero and day by day they're changing all the time, and you're seeing the progress, and that losing the time with them and losing seeing them make milestones or just spending time with them at every stage that that they're not going to go back to that. It makes it, like you said, very black and white.
Yeah,
it's really special. And I didn't expect fatherhood to change me as much as it did.
Yeah, same. And I think there's too much predication on, are we financially ready and all that stuff, but it's just too much thinking. To withhold yourself from, like, a lot of people, you should do more traveling. I'm like, do I really need to do more traveling? Like, why am I withholding myself from the greatest joy that I can experience? Like, been to raves, I've been overseas, I've been to all these things, and like nothing ever comes close. You know what I mean? So it makes no sense.
Yeah, makes no sense for sure. So speaking of that, I like to end my conversations with a forward-looking question with my guests. So we've talked a lot about some of the things that you're trying to do, the mission that you have, but specifically, if we talk again in 5 years, what would you like to be able to tell me has happened since then that would make you feel successful during that time?
I'd like to be able to come back and tell you that we've figured out a way to attract the top 1% of talent and keep them, retain them, keep them happy, keep them well-fed, and for them to help us attract the top 1% of clients. And I don't mean top 1% in terms of top Fortune 500 companies. I'm talking about top clients that understand values, understand principles, understand people, that want to work with brilliant folks, that aren't going to try to discount brilliant folks because, frankly, it's an ecosystem. You discount means that they get paid less or something in the ecosystem breaks. So that's where I like to be in 5 years' time, if you were to ask me. So right now, I'm really focused on seeing how I can up-level, upskill my team. And it's not like a matter of top 1% doesn't mean, Harvard grads and whatnot. I don't see it as top 1%. I think top 1% is a complete package of having the smarts, having the EQ, having the right values. That's the way I see the top 1%. So if I can find ways to be able to attract and be a magnet to attract and retain these people, and find a financially feasible model in which clients are also going to value that as well, because every client's out there trying to get a discount, trying to go cheaper on price. If I can find a way for them to see true value, because I can understand the reason why they want to do that. If agencies are putting a shitty product out there, why am I paying top dollar for a shitty product or standardized product, right? I want to be paying, but there isn't too many models out there where you see clients paying for top talent, right? So I would want to be the one to find such a model.
And just to dig into that a little bit more, when you talk about the top 1% of client, do you think that fit that we've been mentioning, is it the individuals that you're working with, or is it the company as a whole?
I think it stems to both. Maybe I don't think public companies will ever fall under this umbrella because they all have very, very much commercial intents, right? So it will be, I think it has to come hand in hand, but it will start with the individuals first. If the individuals have the power to transform organization to be in a top 1%, then I think, power to them. But it really requires a lot of rigor as well as nuances. And you think of folks like Canva that have obviously been super successful, but they've done it the right way. And for them to go up against Adobe and giants like that, whilst also trying to pledge and give back to the wider community or wider cause, humanity for that matter, it's quite rare to find. So I hope to get to a place where we've created such a model where that, okay, we're going to work with Kaliber or whatever the name is at that time. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, where can people find Kaliber if they want to work with you, or find you personally if they want to come have you talk about marketing, not in a panel or as a moderator?
I think no need to come down to Kaliber. I think if you can, love to be able to direct people to APAC Marketers, apacmarketers.com. You can find me there. And obviously through me, you can find Kaliber as well. But I think I'd love to be able to direct people to I assume there'll be some marketing folks out there, but if you know someone in marketing, it'd be good to direct them to apacmarketers.com. Website's still not quite where it needs to be. But if you take a look and take a peek, you'll find some information there, but we'll be looking to update that as often as we can. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, they're great events. I've been, and we'll put the link in the show notes. So thanks again so much for joining me. It's great to talk to you.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Before We Get There with your host, Nicholas Braman. Please like and subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Before We Get There Podcast. New episodes are released every other Thursday morning. See you next time.